I don't tell from the phone call, not because oh right. Oh right, well, no. Right, well, thank you, Andy. Sit down because need information, we'll be on the same level.
Your aunt's not lived here.
So it's no longer economic to family history stayed with my mother. Yes, so that's where I was.
In the UK, it's sort of
very useful.
And was there
Oh yeah, yes.
So basically, we're just going to ask some things, and I hope everyone's going to ask with some questions and so on as well, and chip in for our interview. So
very risky. We don't know what I might say.
well, we can edit it.
That's part of the party. If you give a bland interview, they'll add in some extra.
So I guess one of the first things
Now, you appear in the magazine.
Me, yes, I'm Philip. I edit the magazine,
Yes.
and for this last year, I'm the treasurer for this.
Well, we're the only society that has got information of both man and woman, so that the records are mostly, well, so-and-so, I don't think they still be a member. He seems to have got to London, so you've got all the traces, and you can, in fact, then build a family tree. The only one that can do the wives or husbands coming from outside.
Yes. Yeah.
Settlement record.
And that needs younger people. And what's more, you could make it very popular. Everybody would have to come and research it.
Mm.
You're not really making the most of this.
Yeah.
If I live, I'll stop bullying you. And
Okay,
he'll
look
tell you
forward
I'm
to-
very
I look
good
forward to
bullier.
That's both a threat and a promise.
Yeah.
can I ask you, Margaret, why did you start the society? Why did you think that it was needed?
Why not?
Was it easy to set up when you started it? Was it easy to get everyone together? Because I've heard there were 88 people that initially
It was
joined.
very difficult to get up because I didn't know enough of the important people. He was starting societies all over the place, and he kept on being busy. So every time I met him, I natters at him because I needed the contacts. And then finally we set up a meeting in the meeting house in Wanstead. And everybody said, I think it's a very good idea if we had a Quaker meeting. I wouldn't like to do it myself, but... And then he said he might do it. And then everyone said, well, I could do it. So we went from there. And of course, once you started, I mean, I go back far enough to know the people that joined right at the beginning, an early fry and that sort of thing. So, yes.
It was a period when societies were being set up a lot, and the idea of having a Quaker society was obvious, as you'd got the Anglo-German and the Anglo-Italian and the Catholic, and it was just a coming a coming thing, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, our little niche also.
Because at the beginning you began to have small societies, and then they said, we can't do this, you must concentrate on one per section. So it became very awkward for a time.
Can you just tell a bit about your own Quaker ancestry? Because obviously I don't know really anything about yours. Could you tell me a little bit about your own background or not?
Well, all my, one grandparent joined, but I do go back, right back to the beginning if you do the people who came in.
To the very start.
Yeah.
Okay, it's really interesting. And we were just talking downstairs briefly. I hear there's a story about when war broke out. That where you were when war broke out.
The difference about that was, did you say you had nothing to do with it, or did you say you go on helping injured people who were always being ill? And quite a lot of us said, well, no, we're not going to go into the army, we'll start. And then, of course, it got called up and it decided that in the end you could, one thing and another. But my father was one of the people who, at the end of the First War, said, we really should stop now. And they had an arrangement whereby if they got called up and they had a meeting and they said, no, you've still got to be called up, that they would shoot themselves.
Really? I've not
Yeah.
heard that.
And of course it caused a certain amount of excitement in Guildford. And there's a great deal of talk, naturally people objecting, so that they kept quiet with my generation, and I found quite a lot of people who the same thing had happened. Their fathers had killed themselves, but it was never mentioned.
But I remember you telling me something about the Sunday morning meeting in Friend's house being interrupted by the air raid sirens at the beginning of the war.
And we just sat there.
Did you?
Yeah. No, I think we went down and sheltered, and some of them sat there, yes. I was one of the ones that sheltered. And then we couldn't finish our meeting, because the only way to do that was to come up along the corridor that had to be completely silent, and they were still sitting, because they added on the bit they had before the morning went.
So was there an argument about whether you should go into the shelters, or did people just do their own thing?
There was a bit of argument about it, so the ones who didn't go in started meeting again after the argument, which was about 20 minutes in, so they had an extra 20 minutes. It's very awkward.
That's strange, yes.
But, the little things happen. But you're the person who hasn't brought the thing up to date, so that you can't start being a Quaker now.
The book, Ted's book, I know. I have to finish, I have to get it up to date. You're right
Yes.
to tell me off.
Because it hasn't been
I hope
published.
it's not being recorded.
It hasn't been published for some time.
Yes, yes. It is in hand, Margaret. I have done a lot of the work, but I haven't finished.
Because
And I'm
the
aware I
main
haven't
bit,
finished. Yeah.
main bit was done by what's his name? What was his name? I can't remember names.
Malcolm Thomas. you mean?
A friend's house.
Malcolm Thomas.
Yes.
Yes.
He had done all the research and got all this written up and still applies.
Mm.
But if you don't get that, you don't get the beginning at all.
And it needs to be, it needs a great deal of updating. I mean, so much has gone on the internet that a lot of it, and I have, a lot of it needs to be rewritten, and that's what I've been doing. Some of it.
You might die suddenly.
Some of it can stay unchanged. Actually, that's awkward. If I was completely rewriting it, it would be much easier than rewriting about half of it.
Yeah, if you do something
Yes.
from scratch, it is easier,
Yes.
isn't it, if you do that?
Yeah.
I can understand.
Well, no. You put his bit in, as it always was. And now
That's the state it's in at the moment. Yes.
yeah, well, I think you have to do that. And you could have gone on reprinting it, even though you hadn't done the new things. Oh! Very nice too.
I have a card and letter with something that might be of interest in it as well, Margaret.
Interesting in terms of to ask about that you know. That there's an interesting things that you think.
Because the people who don't know anything about Quaker
a short
things
account of how it started.
are
because she
completely
decided
lost
it was
at the
going to
beginning.
happen.
Well, one of the bits of rewriting that I want to do, where Ted might disagree with me, is there's actually nothing in the book as it is to explain what Quakers are.
At the beginning,
Absolutely. But
It needs a short page at the beginning.
It's interesting with any like.
Try and summarise that.
Yes.
Which is a lot of hubris in attempting to do that, where Ted did. But that's one of the things I've done.
Oh, but in general, outside of that, we're just other Quaker tenants.
The trouble was,
Outside of the foundation.
it was one of those
We didn't have any
awkward
massive
moments.
complicated politics. There are no scandals.
We have them, as you know.
Well, you know, sometimes there are.
Like the question whether you breaches
Margaret and I
of
knew what was going to
trousers.
happen, and everybody
Yes.
was eventually in unity with
Well,
us.
also, I mean, there's so much difference over the centuries, and I mean, 17th century Quakers would not have recognised 21st century Quakers.
And then, of course,
And 19th century Quakers wouldn't have recognised either of them, probably.
and
Ones
the
in the
original
1740s,
Quakers,
when
of
I
course,
have about
all
ones in the
drank
1760s.
alcohol because it didn't, you died.
Yes.
And we modified it as it gone on. And I mean, that's why we lost it.
Yes. By change. Yes.
Yeah,
Keeping up to date.
yeah. But keep
Yes.
up to date. And we don't
Yes.
have all these arguments about what you actually believe. You just modify it slightly as you go
Exactly.
along.
That's the great strength of it, not having an option.
Yeah,
And that was a mistake some of the Americans made.
At the time that what's his name from Street went up to a meeting in Guildford, in Bristol, wearing trousers, and everybody else thought he was wearing breeches, and they told him to go straight back and change, and he said he wasn't going to.
I haven't heard that story. That's brilliant.
Yeah. Well, that was that was the one I knew.
Yes.
He was an old man then,
Well,
but
does it count as some?
Hello. How are we doing?
Good.
Do well.
We should probably, yes.
We knew you'd come.
and maybe you shouldn't have too long there.
Okay.
After all, I got lots.
Yes, we must let you see somebody else. I found that something about some of the Abbott family in America is what that's about.
Oh,
That I thought might interest you.
I think the Abbott's been fairly well.
Yes. I don't think it tells you about anybody new,
Yeah.
but it might add a detail that you may or may not know about the school that they had in Dutchess County in New York, with which apparently people who are interested in needlework know a set of very distinctive samplers with maps on that are thought to come from that school, of which the main teacher was Agnes Abbott.
Yeah,
Yes,
and then
yeah.
they had standard.
Yes.
My one for one of the families is with a cousin of mine, pocketed, framed and put
Yes.
in a place where you don't get the sun on it, that sort of thing.
Yes,
That
we have
one.
to keep it out of the sun.
And then the brother died at school, and they all came away. But, and then you get these little bits of information creeping in.
Yes.
Agnes Abbott would be always the first person to be tested at spelling or
Yes.
something, wouldn't she? It's not
Yes. Yes. Well, she married a Mr. Dean, so that wouldn't have
Well,
helped
that
very
moved her
much
down a
either.
little bit, didn't
But not
it?
very far.
No. Whereas people called William Young are fairly safe that it's not going to get as far as them before the bell goes.
And then there was this bit outside Bristol, wasn't it, where you get a whole ring of Quakers, because for some reason they didn't have the non-Quaker people owning the bit in the middle, so they all had farms in the centre.
Well, my Quakers were from Bristol, the Lovells. Robert Lovell was one of the ping manufacturing. Robert Lovell was one of the Quaker in Bristol, along with I can't remember the other names, but his family came from Street,
Yeah.
and they would trace a lot of them back to a very, very early Quaker meeting house in 1650. Simon Payne was one of the very old earliest Quakers. And that's my claim to Quaker fame.
And is that male line?
No, that's on my mother's.
On your mother's side?
On my mother's, my grandmother's side.
Good.
Right.
We're going to be taken away now.
You've got your next lot of people, I'm afraid,
Yeah.
and a very pregnant woman that's needing
Right,
to
in
sit
that
down.
case, we shall...
It's really nice, and I
You've got
shall
to
invite
share
you
that, haven't we?
to all.
A little card for you.
So that's, you take care.
I think the
Anyway.
picture's nice. You just have a little bit of paper in front of my face, of course.
Yes, I noticed you redated form search thing after me.
We thought you'd like a certificate to say it.
Thank you, dear.
It was really nice to meet you.
It's very nice seeing you all.
Yes.
Family History Society.
And when I came back,